Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Preacher Dad Podcast. This is our Fatherhood Friday edition, and I hope that you're looking forward to hearing from our panel of dads, just regular average guys that are in the trenches just like you are. Many of you out there in podcast land are struggling with some of the same things. And so today we talk about some of our fatherhood lessons, the things we've learned as dads, as Christian fathers, and the things God has taught us. We talk about mistakes our parents have made. We talk about ways to include your kids in what you're doing. We talk about how to let God be the one that works through you for your children. We talk about relationships with our wives and how important it is that we have a good relationship with the mother of our children. So I hope that you're encouraged by this episode today. That is really our hope and prayer, is that on these Fatherhood Friday episodes, you'd find something encouraging that would help you along your journeys, maybe something instructional, maybe you learned something you didn't know before, and that is our desire. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Cornerstone Fellowship, just a little bit north of Toomsboro, Georgia, in the heart of Georgia land. Peaches everywhere. We have we may or may not have peaches everywhere, but we have a church here that loves to love on people, and we are trying to find out the needs in our community and how we can help meet those needs. So if you want to come and be a part of that, we would love to have you here. If you want to come and grow closer to the Lord Jesus, we would love to have you here as well. So I hope that you come and check us out. You can also look us up online, find out more about us at cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. That's cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. All right, let's go ahead and start Fatherhood Friday.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Friday episode of the Preacher Dad Podcast. My name is Jared, and I'm a bivocational pastor in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. And I'm here with Tony Russell and Nathan Eisner and Matt Stewart. And, you know, we're just regular guys, just like you are, unless you're a gal, then we're definitely not like that. But we're just, there's things that are important to us and that we value and that we want to talk about. And so we're going to talk about them. And hopefully, Lord willing, it might bless you and encourage you. So I'm going to throw it over here to Mr. Nate, and we're going to get started here. The topic today is fatherhood lessons, and sort of like the importance of fathers. I think fathers are pretty important to the continuation of the human race. There is a difference between parentage and fatherhood, that's for sure. Anybody can be a daddy, but it takes work to be a father. Nate, what would you say? You're the youngest father among us. What would you say is the most significant fatherhood lesson that you've learned thus far?
I had no idea I was going first, so here we go.
Got him.
Got me. Oh yeah, so yeah, good to be here. So like I said in the last episode, I'm obviously, I'm a 26-year-old dad and of two beautiful little girls. So I still have a lot to learn. My youngest is 1, my oldest is 4. She just turned 4, and they're awesome. Lessons that I have learned. I guess we'll see, again, being the dad of a 4-year-old and 4 years of experience I guess we'll see in a few years if what I'm doing right now stuck. But I think the biggest lesson that I have learned is 100% to really nurture my relationship with the Lord. Something that I have found time and again, I don't know if trial and error is the best way to put it, but cause and effect might be a better way to put it, is that I notice the moments that I'm the most harsh with my children or lacking, where I can see that I'm lacking the most, are the times that I'm also neglecting my quiet time with the Lord. And so I have absolutely seen a cause and effect in the way that I parent, the way that I communicate with my wife. And so methodology, aside, I think the way that I prioritize my relationship with the Lord has been probably the most crucial aspect to my parenting.
Awesome. You know, I've always felt like, you know, pouring myself into my children, I have to be filled up too.
Hmm.
And so, that's you're right on track there as far as we can't pour anything out of us unless we've been filled. And so if we keep trying to pour out, eventually we're going to run dry.
Yeah.
If we don't go back to the well of living water and
Yeah.
be filled ourselves, you know, when we're running dry, that's when we do things wrong.
Sure.
So that's honestly, that's like great episode, guys. That's it. I mean, that was
Oh, and
wonderful.
to expound on that
That's
a little
all.
bit, as well, I feel like at least in our culture, when I watch podcasts, and not to dog podcasts at all, I eat up content all day long. Just but the nature of what I do for a living, it allows me time to listen to stuff while I work, and there's a lot of parenting podcasts that have to do with discipline, and discipline is absolutely important, but there's not a lot on cultivating friendship with your children and cultivating a good relationship aside from the disciplinary stuff. And so when it comes to discipline, I have found, I think my wife has found this as well, you know, timeouts are great because it can be a lesson for the kid, but more than anything, it's a moment for you to take a breath, calm down, pray, think about the conversational teaching aspect of this, and not just, laying down the law of discipline. And that makes the conversation that happens afterwards much more pleasing for both the parent and child. And I think a greater lesson is learned, and it also again cultivates the relationship that you have with your kid. So food for thought.
I think you are hitting on something there that is significantly larger than it may seem on the surface. Because I just thinking of it as from the perspective, I grew up as a preacher's kid. My dad was very tightly knit to his ministry and gave his heart and soul and blood and everything he could into trying to move the church that he was a part of. And like what you're saying, Nate, it seemed like there was a sharpness for sure that arose in direct correlation with his spiritual weariness, and that wasn't a thing he could hide at all. I mean,
Right.
that's something that most men don't or
Right.
have that capacity to do. Weariness makes cowards of us all. But the end of the day, like he was not a bad man, and he was not looking to try to harm anybody in our family or to overly burdensome us or to break any relationships. But yeah, he did. There were a lot, and I know this is not an uncommon story, especially with
Right.
ministry kids, where especially from the fathers, there's this fear that Satan has this malicious, distinct target on your kids, which is an accurate assessment of the world you live in. And because of that, you have to be so vigilant and ever present all the time that you're there and you want to put up the vanguard, you want to be the wall. But over time, as you grow weary, you lose the discernment and the energy
Mm.
that is required to be a student of the people you're trying to guard and shepherd. And you can revert easily to the quick, harsh judgments
Right.
and the just do what I say, just this. You
Sure.
stop questioning, whatever. And I think that's a pain point that that you're really addressing in what you're talking about there. That's critical. That being regenerated, being refilled, being renewed is the best bulwark you have.
Right.
Where the spiritual disciplines that you're trying to pass on to your children don't then turn into a weapon against you,
Right.
because you're so connected to the mission that you lose the heart of the connection. And that's I think that's a very big one that you cannot successfully incorporate godly discipline into your children if they're not feeling God's love through you in the way that you're applying that discipline.
Right.
And if that love is evaporated from you because you're spent on
Right.
the things that you've been doing in this world that are all good things, being a provider, being present in your ministry, you're trying to love your wife, the things that take energy and focus, that you're not an endless pit of energy and you're not an endless pit of that abundance. And if you don't have those recesses to be able to reset, refocus, and re-energize with the Lord and with the Holy Spirit's guidance and input into your heart, where you're not expected to just dispel great wisdom and discernment at all times. You're there to be vulnerable, to confess, to be self-reflective, and just to be poured into. That's a necessary aspect of any ministry to go well, much less the most important ministry of all, of leading your family.
Right.
So that's a big, that's not a small thing. That's
No,
a
it's
very,
not.
very
And,
important thing.
you know, we were talking about this actually yesterday. Um, basically, long story short, um, thinking about the way that we want to do good things, but we do them in the flesh instead
Yeah.
of in the spirit,
Right. Right.
and how important it is that we get the flesh out of there and we do it in
Yeah.
the power of the spirit. And this applies to parenting, to it applies to any good thing that we want
Yeah.
to do in the world. And really, and I'll just share this from my own life. This is one of the most significant. It's really interesting how this leads together. One of the most significant lessons that I've ever learned in the area of parenting or fathering is when I was in college and I was thinking I wasn't a father yet, which maybe this doesn't count, but um, I was praying and meditating and talking to the Lord, and I just was kind of overwhelmed with the idea of being a dad. How could I possibly? And I mean, I saw the blackness of my own heart, the evil that's down in there, and just how weak I was, and what a coward I was. And I just thought, Lord, how could I ever take on the responsibility of shaping a young person's life, take a child and shape it into something that's worthwhile or meaningful in the world? And I just felt the Lord say to me, how can you do anything good apart from me? He said, I have to parent through you, just like I have to do anything through you. You want to do anything in the world? You want to, you know, have a ministry to people in need? You want to preach the gospel? You want to, do anything at all? I've got to be the one that does it through you. And that goes to your fatherhood journey as well. You've got to let me do it. And I love your kids more than you do. And that really struck home to me that God loves my children more than me. And he's stronger than me. He's wiser than me. And to allow him to be the one that really does the parenting.
Right.
But like you're saying, Nate, I have to be connected to the
Sure.
source for that to really work. But that to me was really a profound thing that God impressed upon my heart. And I really think that it's important that I have to keep reminding myself of that I screw this thing up if I do it on my own in my flesh. But if I allow the Spirit to flow through me, and if I allow the Lord to be fathering my kids through this broken vessel, then things go a whole lot better in my family. And the damage that I would do to them in my flesh is diminished, and the benefit that I can bring to them is increased. The fruits of the Spirit grow. I don't want the fruit of the flesh, but the fruit of the Spirit is a good thing. Mr. Matt Stewart, you've been rather contemplative. I'm not sure what the right word is, but why don't you share with us a little bit about the lessons you have learned as a father in your life, or one of the big ones?
Yeah. So I've got two. One is kind of silly, but practical and good. And I think I'll get some amens from it. And this is for newer parents. When you have a baby, first several weeks, several months, let the baby sleep. Don't wake the baby up every 2 hours. We did it for the first baby. I'm sure y'all did it for the first baby. But let the baby sleep as long as he or she wants. When she's hungry, she'll let you know. Y'all agree with that?
God created sleep cycles and hunger cues for a reason.
Right. And if you try the thing where, well, let's just keep them up a lot later tonight so they'll sleep longer, that usually doesn't work either. Usually they're just cranky and won't go to sleep. So let the baby sleep.
Amen.
But now on to something a little bit more important than that.
Right, that's a big one there. Before you move on, you got to help me. I don't even know step one here, man. Like, how do you get it to sleep? There's the
Well, I don't know what to just feed the baby, and when
That's why
when
shop.
he that's the mother knows, mom knows when to put them down. She's just got that instinct.
okay. Well, our kid doesn't have that instinct because even nap time spray doesn't seem to be putting the child down. She might blink, really long for 15 seconds or so, but then she's right at it again. So I have no idea what her sleep cycle is. I don't think she has one, but anyway, we can. I'll have to look at your notes a little later on that one because it's
Yeah.
she's
nap
up
time.
significantly more hours of the day than she's asleep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And happy and bouncing around and energetic and learning about the world and singing and beating up her siblings and all kinds of stuff. 18 months.
Yeah. I'm talking about, the first several months at night, but anyway, naps are still hard even for 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds are still hard. Another thing I wanted to say is probably 10 years ago, I was in the car with my dad and I said, what do you, is there anything you regret from as a parent or wish you would have changed, done differently or whatever? And he said that, he's like, I always wish I would have spent more time with you and my sister as well. And I said to him, like, well, I felt like you did spend a lot of time with us. And he's like, there's so many times I could have and I didn't. And so, I've thought about that and thankfully I've got a wife who's always like, hey, make sure you include the kids here, make sure they do this with you. And I think as a younger parent as well, you still have your hobbies and you want to go do this and do that, and the kids kind of get in your way a little bit. You may think that, but in my 13 years of being a dad, I realized that most of the things that I enjoy doing, I can include the kids. Now I may have to tweak it a little bit. Maybe I take one kid fishing at a time instead of all 5, or playing games. We play games all the time, and I teach them how to play spades and rummy and poker, and by the time they're 6 years old, we're playing poker. Like it's we can just teach them, and I can do things with them. We can, as a parent, as a dad, I can still have fun with my kids doing what I want to do.
Because they're gambling with all the neighborhood kids, and you're taking a piece of the profits. So hey, that's a lot of fun.
I keep all the profit. That's all mine. So we don't. We just play for fun. So. And just one other thing too, you kind of have to tweak. You have to tweak things a little bit. Like, so I'm used to, when I deer hunt, I usually sit in a tree stand up high where they can't see me or whatever. But this past season, I had four of my 5 kids and a blind with me, a 6-person blind, and we killed a big 6-point. So it's like, we can still do things with them that we enjoy doing. That's the main point. A few other little things, like we can, when you go to the grocery store, take them with you. When you go early, I have to go serve at church early. I take them with me. Whatever I do, I just try to include them. And it's been great. I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I think you can't go wrong with spending a lot of time with your kids. Yeah.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about 7 Weeks Coffee. They're a company that believes every life is worth fighting for. When you purchase 7 Weeks Coffee, you're directly helping to fund their network of over 750 pro-life organizations across the country. That's because with every purchase of their delicious coffee, 7 Weeks is donating 10% of that sale to pro-life pregnancy centers that reach women and men in crisis every day. In the last 2 years, 7 Weeks Coffee has donated $250,000 to help save the lives of children and also rescue their parents from years of regret and suffering. But you don't have to endure poor quality coffee to make a difference. Their coffee is harvested in the most organic way possible, and you can taste the difference in every sip. It really is quite good, folks. I really am loving this coffee. These coffee beans are mold and toxin free, and they use organic farming practices, and the coffee is ultra low in acid. When a baby reaches 7 weeks from conception, it is the size of a coffee bean, and that is also the point at which a heartbeat is first detectable. 7 Weeks Coffee is committed to the pro-life cause, and you can get an outstanding product while contributing to the important work of pregnancy centers across the United States. Now, in order to get 10% off, you can go to preacherdad.com and use my special link, or you can go to 7weekscoffee.com and use the promo code PREACHERDAD for 10% off. And then you can join me in saving lives one cup of coffee at a time. Go to 7weekscoffee.com today and use the promo code PREACHERDAD.
You know, I heard a man, what was his name? Steve Farrar. He's an author. He wrote a great book called Point Man, where he compared being a father to being the point man in a combat unit in Vietnam. Anyway, I recommend the book. Steve Farrar is a great author, but I heard him say one time, he said, fatherhood is like bowling. Your errors decrease the closer you are to your target. He said, basically, did you know I'm a 300 bowler? Yep. Every time, strike, every single time. I'm 300 average. But you don't know that I'm only 5 feet away from the pins when I bowl. They said your errors will decrease. Your errors increase with distance. Further you get away from those pins, the farther away you are, the easier it is to make mistakes. So he said the closer you are to your kids, the more time you spend with them, the fewer mistakes you will make. I always thought that was great advice.
I have a question.
Yes, good point.
Just to get all of y'all's perspective on this, I'm still kind of thinking how to articulate the question. I listen to a lot of John Lovell, and there's a phrase he uses a lot, and he calls it a beautiful tension. Uses that about a lot of things. You know, there's a beautiful tension between how a mother would parent and how a father would parent. And so, you know, it's not that they're, you know, they complement each other, but in the regard of spending time with your children and taking them along, because I believe wholeheartedly that's a great thing. There's a big conversation right now that I've heard a lot about not putting your children above your marriage and not forsaking the relationship with our wives, because eventually kids will grow up and they'll move out. And, you know, what you have then is, you know, once you're an empty nest, you have time with your wife. And if that relationship has suffered, we see sadly how that ends. And so I'm curious, you know, more so just to get y'all's perspective on this. Y'all are farther down the road than I am, because, you know, it's fantastic to include your kids in all this stuff, but, you know, I also don't feel like I would regret, you know, sending them off to their grandparents to get a weekend with my wife, you know? So is that, you know, what's
definitely don't bring them with you on your anniversary date.
Sure.
Night.
Yeah.
That's not going to help anybody anywhere. So.
Yeah.
And perhaps I'm overthinking it, you know, but you know, what are y'all's perspective on that?
Well, I think they're different. You've got times you want to spend with your wife, you need to spend with her. And there's times when you're just going to do whatever out in the yard on a Saturday, just get the kids to tag along.
Sure.
My wife doesn't want to go out and help me in the garden.
Right.
But I make the kids.
Sure.
She could care less about that. So just, you do both.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of this old adage. I heard this a lot from some mentors I really trusted a lot when I was younger, that, you know, kids don't need quantity time, they need quality time.
Okay.
Which is a really stupid saying. So don't follow that advice at all, because you don't get to schedule quality time. Quality time doesn't show up just because you designated this next 30 minutes to really peer into my son's soul time. Sometimes it's going to take you 30 minutes just for him to realize that you're in the room. The quality time is something that you ought to pray for, and you ought to seek for, and you ought to try to prod for, but we don't get to pick when it happens. And you don't get to pick when it happens with your wife either. The quality time piece is extraordinarily important. And just because you scheduled a date for this time and the parents are going to watch the kids or whatever, doesn't mean you're going to spend the next 3 hours intimately catching up on where everything was. You're going to show up at that table having slept 4 hours that week, and your capacity to be able to reach into your soul and give something to your wife is going to be strained. Sometimes those things just don't work out exactly the way that you planned on it. So you plan again, and you plan again, and you attack the beachhead until you win. It's not one of those things where you get to necessarily have a guidebook on, you know, follow this schedule, put this correct amount of balance, and then do this, and all things are going to work out. There's going to be times when you and your wife are, you know, so close, fighting back to back in that trench, You're not going to need another 2 hours the next day to catch up to be able to hold on to that camaraderie. But your son, you're losing his heart. He's closer to Pokemon now than he is to your vision for his life. And that happens. And that's part of the continuous discernment that we're looking for, especially as the leaders of our homes, to try to figure out how to fight that battle. The targets move, and they don't move in a fair way most of the time. But I would suggest that the concept there, like what you're talking about with that beautiful tension, you have to shore up your battle buddy first. If you're right with your kids, but you're wrong with your wife, you're going to lose your family. You got to be right with your battle buddy. She's in the trench with you. And once you guys are good, then you can approach the battlefield, which is your kids. Unfortunately, at this moment in life, you are contending over them with a fierce enemy. So if you're doing that with the strength of your best friend and the person who knows your heart and knows how to defend you, you're going to be way more successful than if you're trying to hold up everything all at once, because then you're just going to lose both sides.
Hey, I got two things to say about this. Well, I should save one of them, but the main thing I wanted to say is that somebody gave Anna and I some great advice. It was some great marital advice, and it was, you should have a 5-second kiss every day. And so we have tried to practice that. And I mean, sometimes a 5-second kiss turns into a 50-second kiss. And then that's great. And that turns into a 50-minute kiss sometimes. And that's even better. But the point is that we take the time to say, hey, I didn't get my 5 seconds. Or she'll come chase me down sometimes. She'll say, it's time for 5 seconds.
This is coming from the man with 8 kids.
Hey, listen, you can't argue with results, bro. But I'm saying that forces us to deal with issues, because I can't sit there and kiss her for 5 seconds if I am mad at her or if she's mad at me. And so we then, it forces us to deal with things that we need to deal with. We try to never go to bed angry with each other. But, that has been good advice. It's funny.
I'm not going to argue with the advice.
But Nate, you're totally right. We do need to have a solid relationship with our wives, because that creates a better ability to be good dads to our kids. And you know what? There may be dads out there that are listening to this that are not married. They're either in a broken family or, whatever situations developed in their life, that they're not in a relationship with the mother of their children. And you can still have a positive fatherhood journey in that circumstance. And you might not be able to be as intimate with the mother of your children at one point, but you can still have a good relationship with her, because you are their father and she is their mother, and you've got to work together to bring those children up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Even if you're divorced and you're remarried and things are not going to go forward that way, you still have to be able to have a good relationship that is based upon mutual respect and trust, so that you can double team these kids, because there is a real need for fathers and for mothers. Both are important in a child's life. So I don't want us to forget that there may be somebody out there listening to this that is not living with the mother of their children, and they need to make sure that they still have a positive, healthy relationship with the mother of their children. Well, guys, I mean, that's about it.
Tony needs to share
I
something.
think Tony, did you share the best fatherhood lesson of your life?
In part, it was kind of in conjunction there with Matt. I was just thinking about the quality time, quantity time piece. I know it's different than what I was kind of imagining earlier today, but that one's something that stuck out to me, and it seemed quite in tune with the theme of the night. But just as an addition to that one, I guess I don't have any idea how to articulate this in the proper way. So you might have to edit all of this out altogether. But the thought of being the keeper and the standard of the watch is something. There's a lot of things from my dad that I took away. Is don't ever do that. I'm never going to be like that. This is not. But that is one of those things where it's like I don't know if I've ever seen a man in my life do it better. His application may not have always been right, but man, his heart to want to vigilantly stand guard over his family, to own them, to make sure that he was a sheepdog, that he was going to hunt down and eviscerate anything that he saw as a threat that would come for our hearts. There's a fierceness in that I think for some reason is just not that ubiquitous with modern evangelical men. It seems like there's a mass neutering and that has gone on where everybody has to be nice all the time to everybody about everything 100% of the time, no matter how evil or corruptive or corrosive or corrupt they're going to be towards your family. Like you hear instances and stuff in the news every now and then of some sports program is going on, like girls track meet or whatever, and there's some fella hanging out with them in the bathroom. Like, if that ever happened to one of my sisters, you never find the body. His capacity to rise to the threat would have overcome the threat. And I had seen my dad stand up and not to be physically violent against anybody, but to never let the threat of physical violence deter him from standing correctly in the way of evil. And I just find that an absolutely remarkable trait that not enough men get to see and experience, and to be encouraged and filled with courage from watching a courageous person stand up on your behalf and be a shield for you. And us as fathers, we get to do that to not just our daughters, but our sons, our wives, and that inspires their hearts in different types of ways. I want my son to be able to look at the way that I treat, his sisters and his mom. I think one day I'm going to be able to be man enough to do that for my family too. And I want my daughters to think, you know what, I'm not going to settle for somebody who's not going to put everything in front of me like that one did. Yep. I don't have to settle for less than that. And I don't know. I think that trait from my dad is something that I've respected more and more and more and more the darker it seems the world is getting around my kids, and something that I really greatly admire about him.
Awesome. I think that a lot of dads out there have been conditioned to be embarrassed by their manliness. And I think that we need to always remember it's okay to be manly. It's okay to be masculine and in a godly way. I mean, the Bible says, quit you like men. That's the King James. And it means behave like a man. Yeah. And Paul is exhorting the people in Corinth. He says this in Corinthians, quit you like men. Man up is basically what he's saying. Man up. Be a man. It's not wrong to be a man. It's not wrong to be masculine. And our society has, conditioned even many, many Christians to just be, so docile that they're not a threat anymore. And, we need men that are a threat, not a threat to good, righteous, godly things, not a threat to any woman or, any helpless innocent, but a threat to evil and a threat to wickedness and a threat to the things that want to snatch and kill and destroy our families and our society, our churches. We need men who are able to be threatening. And I appreciate so much you guys, because I feel like you are strong men. But we really need guys to be that way. We need guys to remember to not be ashamed of their manliness and their masculinity. So it's good reminder, Tony.
Certainly.
Great stuff. I'll share something funny here. You guys ready for a joke?
Let's do it.
Yep.
There's a lot of good ones in here.
Is that jokes for like 6-year-olds book or something?
No, these are jokes for dads.
Oh, okay.
My wife
I tell
just
you what, I'm
accused me
already
of-
less encouraged that you had to research and read this one. I was hoping for like a generational chunk of wisdom.
I mean, I got a couple that are like, in the holster, ready to go. Do you know who made King Arthur's round table? It was circumference. No question about it.
That's good.
Boo.
That's great.
Boo.
Okay, this one's better. My wife just accused me of having zero empathy. I don't understand why she feels that way.
That one's better.
Yeah.
The man who invented autocorrect has died. His fun fair is on sundial at Moon. All right. Well,
Thank you, Jared.
that's good stuff, guys. I appreciate all of you and your perspectives on fatherhood, and I hope that if anyone out there listening to us, all 7 or 8 of them, I think maybe we got to 9 this week, are encouraged to be manly and to remember the lessons of fatherhood that God has taught you. So, all right, that's all the time we have tonight. So we will catch up with you guys next time, and God bless you, and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.